One.
Okay, so these are my adults on top of the cameraman and the dog. So my speech is on paternity. Why do people get paternity tests? It's a really simple concept, right? To prove paternity. But there's a lot of stigma behind it when there doesn't need to be. So my argument is presumption of legitimacy is the current I guess guideline to everybody. I read this from Shapiro, an article in Shapiro, but it's the thing that says all husbands, whether they're the father or not, have to automatically be put on the birth certificate. This was established back when, people really didn't have children outside of marriage, like marriage out of wedlock. Children out of wedlock really wasn't a thing, but now it is. So now that people don't have to be married, or a lot of people have kids outside of marriage, the woman just puts whoever she wants to on the birth certificate. But if she's married and she has a boyfriend and she knows the boyfriend's the father, she has to put her husband on the birth certificate. So what this causes is a lot of people, up to 4% actually, to raise children that aren't theirs, or for a lot of people to, have doubts in relationships when there doesn't need to be. There's no detriment to anybody. It doesn't hurt anybody. Like if it's done after the baby's born, all they need is like a saliva swab. And think about all the tests they do when babies are born. They, take blood samples. They give them shots. They do sometimes cosmetic surgeries on babies the second that they're born. So, it could be just a part of like routine, birth. And it doesn't have to be something where, you get it done and it costs thousands of dollars to do later. And where it says speeds up potential separation, custody battles are ugly. Custody battles are even uglier when it turns out that the kid isn't the father's. Like, we've all watched more growing up and seen all these shows where, these kids are born and they're fighting for custody or trying to get sued for child support, and the father isn't even the father. At that point, years have passed, and sometimes they can never find out who the true biological father is. A lot of the reasons why people are against getting paternity tests, regardless of relationship status, is they take it as an attack on character. The biggest accusation that comes with it is promiscuity, whether they're married, whether they're not even in a relationship, that you've been with multiple men in a short time period. And a lot of women take that offensively when it doesn't need to be about that. It can be something that's like discussed beforehand as part of a relationship, because hopefully if you're having children with somebody, you're in a relationship with them. But it can be discussed beforehand. There's no reason for there to be continued insecurity because you think it might be an attack on your character. If the baby's his, the paternity test is going to show it, and there's literally no detriment. A lot of people say, go ahead and get the paternity test, and when it proves I'm the mother, we're going to be split up. There's no need for that. So here's a quote from Guerrero: "The mother is always certain, the father is always uncertain." 99.5% of mothers know that their children are theirs, and the other 0.5% we have some switched at birth scenarios, which are very rare. But with men, it's actually a super common thing that keeps them up at night, or is like a delusion similar to PPD, because men get PPD as well, is that the child isn't theirs. But the problem is, most of the time, it's the men who have had that happen to them, or the men who have watched more. So it doesn't have to be offensive. So all in all, like, all fathers should have a paternity test before being put on the birth certificate, instead of making it something that has to be like a nasty fight later on. And if it's the standard for everybody, it doesn't have to be offensive or like an accusation of cheating or accusation of promiscuity. It's actually could just be, you know, let's make sure these children's, like, their fathers are actually their fathers, and the person providing for them, and, you know, financially, you know, every mentally, whatever, is actually the person that's responsible for them. So, and then this would take out like literally half of the times that custody battles take, because custody battles, the first 6 months to a year is just trying to establish paternity. So, yep, that's my speech.